The email arrived at 2 in the morning. I only saw it because I'd gotten up for water and checked my phone out of habit. The subject line was blank. The sender was an address I didn't recognize, a string of numbers and letters that looked automated. There was no message in the body, just a video file attachment. I almost deleted it, but something made me open it instead. The video was dark at first, grainy, like it had been recorded on an old phone. Then the image stabilized, and I saw a face, my brother's face. He looked older, thinner. His hair was longer than he'd ever worn it, but it was him. "If you're watching this," he said. Then something's happened to me. I sat down on the kitchen floor, my back against the cabinets, and watched the rest. The video was 4 minutes long. He spoke in a low, steady voice, glancing occasionally off camera like he was worried someone might hear. He didn't say where he was. He didn't explain why he'd disappeared. He just said 3 things. First, that he wasn't dead. Second, that someone wanted people to believe he was. Third, that I needed to find a safe deposit box at Western United Bank under the name James Collier. Inside, he said, was everything I needed to know. The video ended. I sat there staring at the black screen, my hands shaking. My brother, Ryan, had been declared dead 4 years ago. He'd been 28. Working for a logistics company that moved freight across the Canadian border. One night in November, his truck went off a bridge near Bellingham during a storm. They found the truck in the river 2 days later. They never found his body. The company held a memorial service. They gave us a folded flag and a plaque. Our mother had cried so hard she'd made herself sick. We'd buried an empty casket 6 months later, once the search had been officially called off. I'd stood beside my mother and our aunt while a priest said words I didn't remember. And now, 4 years later, I was sitting on my kitchen floor at 2 in the morning, watching my brother tell me he was alive. I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table and watched the video 11 more times, looking for details. The background was nondescript. Plain walls, dim lighting, no windows. He was wearing a gray hoodie I didn't recognize. His voice sounded strained, like he hadn't spoken out loud in a while. At 6 I called the bank. The automated system told me they opened at 9. I hung up and waited. I didn't call my mother. I didn't tell anyone. I just sat there, turning the phone over in my hands, trying to make sense of what I'd seen. At 9 exactly, I walked into the Western United branch downtown. I asked to speak to someone about accessing a safe deposit box. A woman in a navy blazer led me to a desk in the back. She asked for identification and the name on the account. "James Collier," I said. She typed into her computer. "And your relationship to the account holder?" "He's my brother." She looked at me. "I'll need documentation to verify that." I hadn't thought of that. "I don't have any. It's complicated." "I'm sorry, but I can't grant access without proper authorization. Can you at least tell me if the box exists?" She hesitated, then glanced at her screen again. "Yes, it exists. But it's flagged." "Flagged how?" "It's listed as part of an inactive estate. If you believe you have a legal claim, you'll need to go through probate." "How long does that take?" "Weeks. Maybe months." I thanked her and left. I sat in my car in the parking lot and called a lawyer. Her name was Diane Marsh. I'd found her online, picked her because her firm specialized in estate law. When I explained the situation, she listened without interrupting. "Do you have a copy of the death certificate?" she asked. "Wes. And you're certain this video is recent?" "I don't know when it was recorded, but it was sent last night." "Can you forward it to me?" I did. She called me back an hour later. "I've reviewed the video. If this is legitimate, we're dealing with either fraud or mistaken identity. Either way, you'll need to file a petition with the probate court to investigate the estate. I can help you with that." "How long?" "Depends on the court's schedule. Could be a month, could be longer." "I can't wait that long." "I understand, but there's a process. Can I get a court order to access the box?" She paused. "Possibly, if you can demonstrate exigent circumstances. But you'd need evidence that the contents are time-sensitive or tied to criminal activity." "What kind of evidence?" "More than a video." I thanked her and hung up. I spent the next 2 days going through everything I had from Ryan's death. Police reports, company records, insurance documents. I read them all twice, looking for inconsistencies. The accident report listed the cause as loss of control due to weather conditions. No witnesses. No evidence of mechanical failure. The truck had gone through the guardrail, at a section of bridge that was unlit and poorly maintained. The company, Northwest Freight Solutions, had paid out a death benefit to our mother, $50,000, life insurance plus a settlement to avoid a lawsuit. I called the company. The woman who answered said Northwest Freight had been acquired by a larger firm 2 years ago, and most of the old records had been archived. I'm trying to get information about an employee who died in 2019, Ryan Collier. I'm sorry for your loss. What do you need? Any records you have. Personnel files, dispatch logs, anything. I'd have to submit a formal request. Are you next of kin? I'm his sister. I'll need documentation, and it could take a few weeks. I understand. I sent her everything she asked for. Then I waited. 3 days later, Diane called me back. I've filed the petition. The court's scheduled a hearing in 2 weeks. What happens at the hearing? You present your case. The judge decides if there's enough cause to investigate the estate. If he agrees, he'll issue an order allowing us to access the safe deposit box. And if he doesn't, then we'll need to pursue other options. I thanked her and hung up. I didn't tell my mother. She was 73, living in a small apartment in Tacoma. She'd never fully recovered from Ryan's death. She'd stopped going to church, stopped seeing friends, spent most of her time alone. I visited her twice a month, and every time she seemed smaller. I didn't want to tell her Ryan might be alive until I knew for sure. The hearing took place on a Wednesday morning in a small courtroom downtown. Diane presented the evidence, the video, the safe deposit box, the inconsistencies in the accident report. The judge, an older man with white hair and a patient expression, listened carefully. When Diane finished, he asked, "Do you have any evidence that the individual in the video is alive?" "No, Your Honor." "That's what we're trying to determine. And you believe the contents of the safe deposit box will provide that evidence?" "Yes." He thought for a moment. Then he signed an order granting us access to the box, contingent on the presence of a court-appointed administrator to document the contents. Diane smiled. "Thank you, Your Honor." We went to the bank that afternoon. The administrator, a man named Philip Grant, met us there. He was in his 60s, calm and efficient, with a leather briefcase and a notary seal. The bank manager led us to the vault. She unlocked the box and stepped back. Inside were 3 things: a flash drive, a stack of documents in a manila envelope, and a handwritten note. I picked up the note. It was Ryan's handwriting. "If you're reading this, I'm either dead or in hiding. Everything you need is on the drive. Don't trust the company. Don't trust the police. Start with the delivery manifests from October 2019. Philip photographed everything, then handed me the flash drive. "I'll need to take this into evidence," he said. "Can I make a copy first?" He hesitated, then nodded. Quickly. We went to the bank's business center. I copied the files onto my laptop while Philip watched. Then I gave him the drive. That night, I opened the files. There were hundreds of them. Scanned documents, photographs, spreadsheets. It took me hours to sort through them. The delivery manifests Ryan had mentioned showed shipments crossing the border from Vancouver into Washington. The cargo was listed as industrial equipment, machine parts, electronics, raw materials. Nothing unusual, but Ryan had annotated the files. He'd highlighted specific shipments, marked them with red text. Manifest doesn't match cargo. Extra weight unaccounted for. Driver changed route without authorization. I kept reading. In one file, Ryan had included photographs. They showed the inside of a shipping container. Wooden crates stacked along the walls. He'd opened one of the crates. Inside were smaller boxes unmarked. Another photo showed what was inside those boxes. Cash, banded stacks of $100 bills. I sat back in my chair, staring at the screen. Ryan had discovered that Northwest Freight was smuggling money across the border, and he'd documented everything. I kept going through the files. Near the end, I found a video file. I clicked it. Ryan appeared on screen, sitting in what looked like a motel room. The date stamp in the corner said November 10, 271 Dean, 5 days before the accident. I don't know who's going to see this, he said. But if something happens to me, you need to know what I found. He explained it methodically, calmly. The shipments, the cash, the drivers who were in on it, the manager at Northwest Freight who coordinated everything. I told them I wouldn't say anything. Ryan said. I just wanted out, but they didn't believe me. I think they're going to do something. I think they're going to make me disappear. He looked directly at the camera. If you're watching this, then they did. The video ended. I sat there for a long time, my hands cold. Then I called Diane. I need to talk to the FBI, I said. She set up the meeting. 2 days later, I sat in a conference room with 2 special agents, a man named Torres and a woman named Kim. I showed them everything, the video, the manifests, the photographs, the note. They asked questions, lots of them, about Ryan, about Northwest Freight, about how I'd gotten the files. When I finished, Torres leaned back in his chair. This is good work, but I need to be honest with you. Investigating this is going to take time. We're talking about cross-border smuggling, money laundering, possibly organized crime. This isn't something we can resolve in a few weeks. What about my brother? If he's alive, we'll find him. But right now, all we have is a 4-year-old video and some circumstantial evidence. We need more. Like what? Like proof that someone at Northwest Freight was involved in his disappearance. Witness testimony, financial records, communication logs, anything that ties them directly to what happened. How do I get that? Kim spoke for the first time. You don't. We do. But we'll need your cooperation. And you'll need to be patient. I wanted to argue, but I didn't. I just nodded. The FBI opened an investigation. They subpoenaed records from Northwest Freight, interviewed former employees, traced financial transactions. They kept me updated, but the updates were vague. We're making progress. We're following leads. It's a complicated case. Months passed. I kept working, kept living my life, kept visiting my mother. I didn't tell her about the video or the investigation. I didn't want to give her hope until I knew for sure. Then, 8 months after the first email, I got another one. Same format, same anonymous sender, another video file. I opened it. Ryan appeared on screen. He looked different again, hair shorter, a beard now. He was outside this time. Trees in the background. I don't know if you got my first message, he said. But if you did, thank you. I'm still alive. I'm still hiding. But I wanted you to know I'm okay. He paused, looked down, then back at the camera. I can't come back. Not yet. Not until this is over. But I need you to know. I didn't want to leave. I didn't want to put you through this. I just didn't have a choice. He reached toward the camera, like he was about to turn it off. Tell Mom I'm sorry. The video ended. I forwarded it to Torres immediately. He called me an hour later. We're trying to trace the email. But I'll be honest, whoever sent this knows what they're doing. It's routed through multiple servers, probably overseas. But he's alive. It looks that way, and that's good. It means we have a witness if we can find him. So find him. We're trying. 3 more months passed. Then Torres called me again. We've made arrests, he said. 3 former employees of Northwest Freight, including the operations manager. We've charged them with smuggling, money laundering, and conspiracy, and we've connected them to your brother's disappearance. How? Financial records. One of the suspects made payments to a contractor in November 2019. The contractor's been linked to other violent crimes. We believe he was hired to cause the accident. I felt something cold settle in my chest. So they tried to kill him. Yes, but your brother survived. He managed to get out of the truck before it went into the river. We think he's been in hiding ever since. Where is he? We don't know. But we've issued a public statement asking him to come forward. If he sees it, he'll know it's safe. And if he doesn't, then we keep looking. I hung up and sat in silence for a long time. 2 weeks later, my phone rang at 6 in the morning. I didn't recognize the number. Hello. It's me. I knew the voice immediately. Ryan. Yeah. I couldn't speak. I saw the news, he said. About the arrests. Is it really over? I think so. He was quiet for a moment. I'm sorry for everything, for letting you think I was dead, for not reaching out sooner. Where are you? Canada. I've been moving around. Staying off the grid. I didn't know who I could trust. You can come home now. I know. I need to do it carefully. The FBI said they'd help me. But I wanted to talk to you first. Does Mom know? Not yet. I wanted to ask you, should I call her? Or should I just show up? I thought about it. Show up? She needs to see you. Okay. When? Soon, I promise. He hung up. 3 days later, I drove to my mother's apartment. I told her I was coming, but I hadn't said why. When I got there, she was waiting in the living room, hands folded in her lap, looking worried. What's going on? She asked. Before I could answer, there was a knock at the door. I opened it. Ryan stood in the hallway, wearing a jacket I didn't recognize, holding a bag. My mother saw him. She stood up slowly, her hand pressed to her chest. Ryan. He stepped inside. Hi, Mom. She moved toward him, tentative, like she was afraid he'd disappear if she got too close. Then she reached out and touched his face. You're real. I'm real. She pulled him into a hug and held him for a long time, crying quietly. I stood by the door and watched. Eventually, she let go and stepped back, wiping her eyes. Where have you been? It's a long story, Ryan said. But I'm here now. And I'm not going anywhere. She nodded, still crying. Good. We sat down together. Ryan explained everything. The smuggling, the threats, the accident, the years in hiding. My mother listened, her hand never leaving his. When he finished, she said, You should have told us. I couldn't. I didn't want to put you in danger. You put us through hell. I know. And I'm sorry. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You're home now. That's what matters. Ryan stayed in Washington. The FBI placed him in protective custody while the case went to trial. I visited him twice a week, brought him books and food, sat with him while he adjusted to being back. The trial took 6 months. All 3 defendants were convicted. The operations manager got 15 years. The contractor who'd caused the accident got 25. Ryan testified. He was calm, precise, matter of fact. He didn't dramatize anything. He just told the truth. When it was over, he moved into a small apartment in Seattle. He found work doing inventory management for a shipping company that wasn't Northwest Freight. He started seeing a therapist. We had dinner once a week. Sometimes our mother joined us. Sometimes it was just the 2 of us. We didn't talk about the 4 years he'd been gone. We talked about ordinary things. Work, the weather, plans for the weekend. It felt normal, quiet. Real. I never asked him if he regretted sending that first video. I think I already knew the answer. He'd been in hiding for so long, he'd forgotten what it felt like to be seen. And when he finally reached out, he'd taken a risk, trusting that I'd believe him, that I'd do something, that I wouldn't let him disappear forever. And I hadn't. If you've ever been the person someone trusted with the truth when they had nowhere else to turn, you know it changes you. It doesn't make the years easier. It doesn't erase what happened. But it gives you something to hold on to. And sometimes that's all you need.